we mention this track, then we're not having discussions.
Popularity. Because how would CDC sit there as a political parties from 2005, one of the, let's say, the populated political institution that gave Madam Sally Hatton from 2005 up to 2011, up to 2017. Then you're looking at 4% bringing political party to you, then you take it to be a serious matter too. Is that something that you look at? And political party is like an airplane. Political party is like an airplane. When the two wing is broken, trust me, the airplane cannot move. So the two wing as the youth and none of the women. So how can you be going into an agreement without having the consent and the majority black of the young people? And every political institution based the population based on the young people. So I challenge even from the national youth leadership, we only have one person who is moving. They have recent the Secretary General who are voted for resign. So we are telling you the 15 countries youth chair. The 15 countries youth chair is destined themselves for the decisions that were taken to the CDC for the collaboration. And we are clear with it. We are saying to them that bring the party back to status quo ante for a proper discussion. If not, we are going to take a serious line.
No one country chairman can tell you between he and his God that he saw the framework document and know what is in the framework document. But let me be clear with you. I'm an administrator by profession, discipline. Before you go into collaborations with a political party, you first of all need to do your timetable. You will put Liberia Voice. You intend the first branch of government as a political party like the PLP structure and have chair in the 15 county offices and structure. You will tell Liberia, you put Liberia Voice. You put it on the blueprint. You draw the triangle. Then you come up with electoral district. Then you got 73. In the 73 electoral, these are a political arrangement. What a common practice are not how it should be. And we messing this track, then we're not having discussions.
Popularity. Because how would CDC sit there as a political parties from 2005, one of the, let's say, the populated political institution that gave Madam Sally Hatton from 2005 up to 2011, up to 2017. Then you're looking at 4%.
You put it on the blueprint. You draw the triangle. Then you come up with electoral district. Then you got 73. In the 73 electoral, these are a political arrangement. What a common practice are not how it should be. And we messing this track, then we're not having discussions.
Popularity. Because how would CDC sit there as a political parties from 2005, one of the, let's say, the populated political institution that gave Madam Sally Hatton from 2005 up to 2011, up to 2017. Then you're looking at 4% bringing political party to you, then you take it to be a serious matter too. Is that something that you look at? And political party is like an airplane. Political party is like an airplane. When the two wing is broken, trust me, the airplane cannot move. So the two wing as the youth and none of the women. So how can you be going into an agreement without having the consent and the majority black of the young people? And every political institution based the population based on the young people. So I challenge even from the national youth leadership, we only have one person who is moving. They have recent the Secretary General who are voted for resign. So we are telling you the 15 countries youth chair. The 15 countries youth chair is destined themselves for the decisions that were taken to the CDC for the collaboration. And we are clear with it. We are saying to them that bring the party back to status quo ante for a proper discussion. If not, we are going to take a serious line.
Brother, many a day, fuck yeah. My Juma, Friday. Oh, what a pleasant time to welcome you to ABC High Talk. Yes, the guy, Bisa Kadi, is the one bringing us in call brother. But it's in the Ghana language from Accra, Ghana. You know, Ghana is my home now, so don't ask me. It's a pleasure this afternoon to be seated in your car, and of course in your living room, in your offices. Yes, to your way on your way to the airport, going to get your flight. You are locked down to ABC Radio. Your name is Joe Nutua Wanda. I'll be seated in your company for the next 2 hours, if you don't mind. Please allow me that time to give you some information, education, and of course a bit of entertainment.
Mete papa no don't have it. I see bed over. I'm unfortunate damn into me chile. The crabby moon some mammy. This thing I must see about it. Both on a passenger. I craft on the west moon, sorry. Wrong I have on the central. It's a male fabric and walker. And I've only namun somewhere.
Okay, so today we'll be going the journalistic way, eh? What do we have on our plates? We got a lot on the plate this afternoon. Today, something very, very, very much important for the media landscape and, of course, the security apparatus. We got here today something very important, like I indicated. The standard operating procedure for security agency and media in elections. Election is about 6 months away. So I want to drill you through some of the guidelines, some of those things that are laid out for both the media people and that of the security people. And of course, to discuss that with me this afternoon, I got two giants in the profession. The name Madam Siada Scott is a household name, and of course, by the way, she's the president of the Women Auxiliary Group of the President of Liberia. And on the other side is Julius Kanaba. We'll be looking at it. What we hope to really get as media people or security people. What the do's and don'ts that have been laid out here. What is expected of us as media people, and what is expected of the police and the security apparatus as security, people who will be providing security for the entire process. So with that said, let's take a few bars again of this music. The music is actually being enjoyed by the program director there. That's the man himself. Figan is locked down to this station. So, but let's just play a few more bars, and of course, when we come back, the voices you'll be hearing will be that of my guest. Brother, many a day, fuck yeah. My Kumaju are the Friday. Me a Kumasibama, me Jimmy, I no complain, and Grand Swama. Me say, baby, I'm going to go have it if you are a min of my brother. Sikasu so kumano, only a drummy wiper. Push me slow to a family bug. I know my drum and frame. Jimmy, who go was so afraid me, a man of my drum and frame. Yes, of course, I'm not alone in this business to this hour. I got with me in here Smith, the man Ishmael Smith. Ishmael is the video technician. He producing this entire process. Yeah, for those of you joining us and you can't make it by radio, of course, we are live on Orange Radio. I'm talking about the conventional radio now. Then, of course, we are live on Radio King, YouTube, and Facebook. All you have to do just look at your browser and just type in the ABC Radio 105.1 FM official. You'll see me live in studio. Then, of course, coming on the flip side by 5 o'clock, we'll be delving into issues of the April 12. After 43 years of existence as a nation, lesson learned on our infamous April 12. Okay, thank you very much, Bisa. Thank you very much, man. Thank you. You did well for me. So I want to start up now. My guests are all seated, and then want to kickstart this discussion. So let me just let them introduce themselves. Then, of course, we start from there. Yeah, let's go quickly. Starting with women first and lady first in our Liberian setting. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Please make use of the headphone, I beg, before you say I went there. They never even have headphone set.
No headphone here, no. Just that the headphone can squeeze my ear.
Oh no, please.
So again, thank you. My name is Seattle Scott Johnson. I'm the head of the Female Journalists Association of Liberia, and it's my pleasure being on ABC Radio, and this is my debut appearance.
Thank you. You enjoy the best, trust me. Okay, so on my immediate right, I got a gentleman seated here. So please introduce yourself.
Yeah, Julius Konova is my name. A journalist by profession, a development governance specialist, also journalism specialists. Yeah, so to speak.
Okay, guys, in my hand here, I got this stand-up operating procedure for security agency and media in election. We are the practitioner. And Sieta, I understood that you got a fair understanding of this entire process. So please drill us into kickstart our discussion. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. I remember in 2016, late 2016, early 2017, we had this media and security agency. Just that was like a one-day event.
Okay.
Something we just had a conversation in the Abu Fatina, and that was under Gregory Coleman's administration.
Okay.
And that was when we saw the need to do more, especially around elections, because we noticed that one-day engagement in 2017 had smoothing the grounds for journalists and the security agencies to kind of work together. During the 2017 elections, we know there were still hitches, there was still some, some instances that journalists felt violated. There were some instances security agencies felt disrespected. So we thought to continue the conversation. So in 2020, around the senatorial, the midterm senatorial elections, we started the conversation again. So then we had the first dialogue, 3 days in Kanta, Nima County, where we brought journalists and security personnel from the southeast, and we came and blended them with those from Nimba, Bong, and Lofa. So we had a whole hall. We had almost like a 250 persons, and was top brass.
All journalists, or
no, both security. And, but it was strictly top
stakeholders.
brass.
That's it.
Stakeholders, yeah,
Right.
stakeholders in the media and stakeholders in the security sector. And then we had that first engagement. That engagement was like pouring out, to ask journalists how you feel,
Okay.
And then we pour out.
Yeah.
How
Tell
we
us
feel.
exactly how you feel about
Yes.
us. How
So
you feel,
what happened, what
Yeah.
has happened,
Yeah.
So we did at that event, and Daniel Yankona represented the press union. He did a whole security light presentation on behalf of the press union, and then I represented FIJAL and did it from the women's angle, and
Okay.
we kind of, again, as I said, pull out everything that was happening,
Mhm.
and then the security. We had Patrick Sulu. He presented on behalf of the National Police. He's the director, security. I call the police director.
No, yeah.
Patrick Sulu. Yeah, he was still police director.
Okay.
Then. That was 2020.
Oh, 2020. Okay.
Yeah, he pulled. He did a presentation on about the police. What has happened between the police and the media. And then we had somebody from the immigration. We had somebody from the AFL. Everybody kind of presented how they felt.
Mhm.
So then we saw all the issues, like an assessment. We saw all the issues coming up
Okay.
and everything else. So we thought we need to do more of this. So that was for 3 days. We had our first, and then we had the second engagement in 2021 in Grand Bassa. And then we had one in Maserado. And then we came to the final where we, kind of crafted this SOP that we guide us, and us kind of, say, these are the tools.
Mhm.
Don't do this to journalists, and then
Right.
the security say, don't do this, So we all together crafted the do's and the don'ts, and then we put them together, came up with the SOP.
Okay, before I can go to my second guest, Kanaba, Julius Kanaba, I just want to do, for the sake of the discussion, I want to go a little bit, to do a little background on this whole important discussion that we're having here, if not for only media people now, So don't get it wrong, because social media post cited here. It says here the relationship between the media and security agencies, including those in the law enforcement and intelligence services, has always been a delicate one. In the Liberian context, this relationship is often characterized by frequent clashes, which is true, arising from a somehow inability to either side to fully appreciate the role of the other in society, particularly in democratic governance. For decades, each side has viewed the others with suspicion and often as an enemy. The media and to regard security agencies as overstating their importance and interest in enforcing public order and protecting national security. Many in the media sector believe that the concern expressed by security agencies over these issues are mere excuses to justify their tendency to violate the rights of citizens and the media, including the right to freedom of expression and media freedom. The security agency, on the other hand, largely see media practitioners as reckless and irresponsible, with no regards to the security of the states. Matters are not helped with journalists are lax or act unprofessionally in the performance of their functions, including publishing reports which contain inaccuracy. The tendency is for the law enforcement agency to address such situations with heavy-handedness, sometimes invoking criminal law to punish journalists to the maximum extent possible, and at times completely discounting the requirement of the law. All right, let me just stop there. It's a very long piece, but I just thought to get Julius. I guess you have flipped through pages on this document. Something very important that they touch here, that they talk about journalists being very reckless. They say at the time, the security agency viewed journalists, on the other hand, largely as media practitioners, as reckless and irresponsible. You think? Okay, you want to come in?
Yeah, before Julius come in, I just wanted to say those. This background was, as I said earlier, was the pouring out.
I know.
So it was where how journalists felt that what the security agency think about them, and how so that was that process. Right. So the whole background you just read, that was then that was how we it's like on the conflict resolution table. Okay. And say how you feel, and then the other person say how they feel. Okay. So Julius can come in.
Julius, yeah, I mean,
yes, it's a salient point, and I'm excited to be in the midst of the president of the Female Journalists, Association of Liberia, FIJA. Siata has done an incredible job within the media sector of our country. Okay. Besides being the president of the Female Journalists, she herself, with huge level of respectability in the media sector. I remember when I was entering the journalism profession, she was one of the elderly persons, that we look, onto. And she continues to exhibit excellent leadership qualities. So we'd like to tell her thank you for the job that she continues to do within the media sector of our country. Like she has been elaborating on this SOP, the standard operating procedures. It's a framework that forges a relationship between the security and the media, along with people who work on electoral matters. Specifically, I know the document, is not too long. I mean, 22 pages, but if you read, it's from 1 to 14. Yes, it's a good document in the sense that you need to build a relationship between the security and the media, because at times, like Siata was stating about the background that led to the crafting of this particular document, or the calling of the conference to discuss some of these issues. The media and the security sector of the country, sometimes they can be in conflict, not necessarily because they hate each other or they consider each other as the sort of a bad enemies, right? But because one side want to do their job and the other side wants to do their job. When I was doing one presentation with some fact-checking journalists, there was, the present head of the EPS, the Executive Protective Service. He has said that their role is to protect the president or to protect VIPs. And then the journalists in that particular conference said their role is to cover
the VIP,
the president and the VIPs. So in doing both jobs, sometimes there can be this sort of a fiction or clash, so to speak. And so coming together to have some common understanding in terms of discussing how to conduct ourselves, both as security and as journalists, is very important. Because at times, yes, some can be reckless, but what can really cause somebody to become reckless? there should be an
Mhm.
underlying factor. And so, like she said, I mean, when they discussed all of these things and then they came up with different rules and responsibility, it is good. Because when I read a document, for instance, I mean, the issue of distrust, people don't trust the security necessarily in terms of providing this sort of a protection for journalists. And the security too don't trust the journalists in terms of carrying out their role properly without maybe impacting on the security that they are to provide for the VIPs or for the electoral process. And the issue of security in the media has been existing since 2005, especially after the war, wherein we started this sort of a multi-party democracy elections. Because by that time, Liberia had just come from civil war, and the police and other security officers were not as properly trained as they are now, even as they are trained now, but still there can be problem. And so there has always been this sort of arrangement in place or coming in place during the electoral process to ensure that we minimize harm, to ensure that people who are working in the public interest, because the security, they are working in the national interest, the journalists are working in the public interest.
That's right.
And then these two people who are working in the public interest, the same interest, they should not be able to be forcing during electoral processes.
They're twins, man.
Because sometimes too, I mean, when I read a document, for example, you have to be identified as a journalist to cover elections. But also as a security person, you have to be identified. It's not like the CIA or the National Security Agency where you have plainclothes officers. No, you have to be identifying your police uniform. Even only the state is using the armed forces of Liberia, they will have to be identified. The immigration service, like for instance, when I was doing my voter registration, there was an immigration officer, a female. In this particular document, it talks about females too who are in the police and in the media, that they should be given special consideration as equally as their male counterparts. Because sometimes you are a journalist, you are a female journalist, and you go somewhere, people don't want to respect you because they feel that you are not supposed to be in journalism, or maybe you don't have the skill sets as men. But that is a complete lie.
It's a fallacy.
I mean, Siata is a good example. I mean, she has
got a lot of them.
Yeah, I mean, many female journalists, they are practicing professionally. And so there's sort of a respectability, there's sort of a mutual agreement between the security and the journalism community is very good, because it will help to protect both the security, because the security role media is for the elections. In as much as for the elections, but you also be protecting people who are working in relations to the election. So yes, it's a good document. I saw there are, I think, 9 different rules for the media, and then 8 different rules for the security officers. Then it talks about the issue of dispute resolution. For example, if there's a dispute between the police and, I'm just saying the police, I know there are different security agencies that will be involved. In the media or a journalist, that dispute can be handled internally first. You handle it. If one party feels that the process was not, to their satisfaction, they can seek another level. It could be through the civil society or this Liberia Peace Building Fund or Commission that they can be able to work. So yes, I mean, it's good, because Liberia, like we said, we're still learning democracy, practicing it, making democracy what we call the only game in town. That people should just speak about elections, the peaceful aspect of elections. But elections, they are conflictual. Like what is happening to us.
I know.
So yes, I hope that Siata and other people within the media sector who are providing leadership, they can go to the respective media institutions, call a meeting with each media institution. Because sometimes we overlook the fact that we go to the big conferences, we have meeting with the top brass of the police or the security agencies or the spokespersons. Afterwards, we come to the radio station, we forget to know that there are many people who were not at that particular conference.
And Judas, just to add to what you're talking about, it's very good that you brought out that other aspect of. Now, my situation is that it's good to have our in-house kind of tete-a-tete with one another. With this kind of document, in fact, what I intend doing with the document is we will download it, put it on hard copy, make sure, paste it on the wall. Let our journalists get to know exactly their role within this electoral period and beyond. Because they only calls in the electoral time, but I think they should be our daily practice from what are crafted from this document.
It's a good methodology that you are developing.
Right.
So let me say thank you to Julius, because he spoke like he was part of the whole process and everything.
Wow.
And thank you for kind of breaking everything down like that and speaking to the issues in the SOP.
Right.
So exactly as Julia said, these were some of the issues that came up in the back and forth, because most of the conferences or most of the engagements we had were with top brows in the media, top brows in the security sector. And then so we thought, we agreed that we will go in, we'll do the country into regions.
Okay.
So we'll go into each region and then bring now you bring the I don't want to say on the person, which
You
is
bring everybody.
on board, but people at that lower level,
Yeah.
bring them, like for journalists, we bring the reporters, the
Right.
cop reporters, the
Mhm.
interns, and then for the security sector, they have their own way they call
Right, they call the people.
their people. So you bring everybody on board, and that process went on for I think 2 or 3 months. They went in the region
Okay.
to kind of talk about the document, but it is not enough. Because I just attended the stuff with the press union,
Right.
the security and
The
the
security
media dialogue.
That's right.
And a lot of the journalists in that security and media dialogue were shocked when I talk about the SOP.
Yeah, including myself.
Yeah, when I talk about
Including myself, because I just heard about the document when you talk. I said,
Definitely.
no, we can't keep it, on our pages any longer. We can
Yes.
let the public know exactly.
Definitely.
That's
So-
a working document somewhere.
So the reaching up, whatever we did was not enough. It is not enough. We need to do more. And we need to be able to speak out more to talk about this document. That is the reason why the leadership of the press union was involved. So it's binding on the leadership of the press union to kind of take this document forward, as Julia suggested, engage media managers,
Right.
make sure, as you said, print it. And
Okay.
it's printed in hard copies,
Okay.
hard copies in the, like a little pocket book.
Oh, neck got them.
Yeah, Neck
I
has
think
them.
we'll just prefer on neck to be able to.
Yeah,
to
Neck has them.
give it to us.
So I think we need to engage
Him from
Heren Flomo on
Okay,
this
I will call
and do
him.
more
Yeah.
around it
Right.
for people to know, because as he says, it may just be the security sector and
the media.
the media,
Mhm.
but it also affects other people out there. So because if a security personnel and the media personnel having conflict, the public those that are standing around might just be part of the conflict. It might just escalate to
Let
them.
me just add to what you're saying. When you read through into the document, some of the do's and don'ts says that when I meet a police officer
Mhm.
or security officer at a given event,
Yeah.
he is duty bound to introduce himself
Introduce himself,
and show
me
his
his
badge,
ID,
or
his
his badge.
ID number. So you
Equally
can just
so, equally
so-
so, I should do similar thing.
you can just wear any uniform, or that
uniform,
look
yeah.
like a police uniform
That's
and
right.
say, "Oh, I am police."
Yes.
You have to show.
Who
You
are
have
you?
to
Who are you? Who
identify
are you to ask
yourself.
me a question?
Yeah, identify yourself properly.
Mhm.
Show me your ID and your badge number.
Right.
Is part of the do's and don'ts.
That's
And
right.
I, in turn, as a journalist, must be able to identify myself properly. I show you
Mhm.
my institutional ID
Right.
or my personal ID card
Right.
or the neck.
The neck
accredited-
credit. That's one. Thank you. These are the
three
three cardinal things that they talk about.
definitely.
Yeah, the neck identification,
Yeah.
your personal identification, and of course your institutional identification.
Yeah.
So you
So
should either one of them.
Either one of them. So you can just come up and put your phone on
Yeah.
and start and you say, "Oh, I'm a journalist.
journalist,
I
just
work
like
with XYZ radio." You must be able to identify yourself.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So I just thought to do. Let me read a little bit about the adjective here. I mean, for the sake of our colleagues that are following the discussion and the public alike, it say here adjective. These SOPs are intended to 3.1 provides guidance regarding the roles, responsibility, and respective mandate of both security personnel and media on election days throughout other electoral activities, notably campaign period and beyond. Imagine that.
And beyond, yes.
Yeah, and it says here that 3.2 says facilitate communication between security agent and journalists, as well as the understanding of conflict, sensitive reporting, and rights and limit of access to information. Then 3.3 say emphasize the role of female journalists and law enforcement officers in electoral violence prevention and peace building.
Peace building, yeah.
Can you elaborate a little bit on that one? Too?
So the issue of emphasizing the role of female journalists.
Mhm.
So that came up again in the conversation that as Julia said earlier on,
Mhm.
a lot of people do not respect or do not should I say regard, that's the word.
Yeah, yes,
Regard women journalists, because again they feel that is a male space, and they will be like, well, yeah, the women go sit down somewhere, man. Let go find something to do. I say, what kind of journalist? So if a woman comes and say, I'm a journalist, I know how to identify herself, show an institutional ID card or whichever either of the three ID cards
Mhm.
that are being talked about in the SOP, you need to give her credence. You need to treat her with the same respect
That's
that
right.
you treat Julius Canova because he's a male journalist, not because he's a male and I'm a female. And you shove the woman aside and say, oh, then when a male comes and say, oh, let me carry you around the police station in XYZ. So the same goes with the security sector. Equally, so you have a police, or we always use police, because police are the closest to us.
Yeah.
So you have a police woman there, and then she's trying to handle issues, and then he said, I want to talk to the police woman. Say, let me go look for the other policemen over there because he's a male. So we ask that you treat all of them with respect as long as the people to identify themselves. And the roles and responsibilities, let me just read 4.11. It says journalists shall know the nearest police details within the areas they are assigned and shall identify themselves to police/national security officers, officials. So if you go to a place you are assigned, take for example, you are assigned to Bapolu, to Kongba, the first thing you do as a journalist, don't just go there as soon as you reach, you are assigned to Bapolu, then you start going around looking for all over the place, looking for the nearest shop to go pour to. No, the first thing you do, find the nearest police station, go to the police station, identify yourself. I'm journalist Seattle Scott Johnson from ABC Radio. I'll be covering elections in Kongba, and this is my identity. And let me talk to the commander, build that relationship. The first thing you should do, because if anything happens to you, the commander will know, oh yes, Seattle was here, she came here, she showed us her identity, she's assigned here by her XYZ radio station, and she's covering elections in this place. So that one thing you need to do as a journalist. And then 2, you shall liaise with the public relation officers. So that one of the things that came up, a lot of journalists complain that if they ask a police person for, like, I'm on the scene and something happens and you want the story right there, they will say call Moses Carter.
Call the police.
So you wait in Kongba,
they
say you should call Moses Carter in Monrovia. So the first thing you can do, you should liaise with the regional county commanders. So besides having Moses Carter, you have the regional commanders. They should be able to speak to journalists. They should be able to speak to journalists on issues that that will be that breaking news. So you can't say call Moses Carter when the news is breaking.
And I saw in most cases, and I saw Julia can bear with us. In most cases, the police will say, no, I'm not the official spokesperson.
I'm not the official spokesperson. Call Moses Carter.
So
this SOP will ban them. We make them to speak to you. Because it's in the SOP, they should be able to speak to you. They may not speak to all the details, but they should be able to give you the necessary information that you can be able to report, especially if it is a breaking news. If it is something that is hot and you want to report it, they should be able to speak to you. The SOP gave them, and if an emergency, so the SOP gave them that order to speak to you. It's a journalist assigned for elections coverage shall conspicuously display any of the following identity. So we talked about it earlier. So don't go put it in your back pocket. You get your PED card and you put it in your back pocket, or you get your identity in your boat bag, or you carry it in your back bag, or you carry it in your hotel room, and you came to the people place. No, it says you should display it. So just find one little rope. If you can get the tie, find one little thread. Or find the rope, the string, and be set in the line, and put it through it and hang it on your
for
neck.
your own safety.
For your own safety, let them know. If you have a jacket, if your institution can print the jacket for you, wear your jacket. Let them know that you are a journalist. Don't let you already get in harm's way. They finish beating you and you bleeding, you lie down in the hospital, but you say, oh, that they know what journalist, but we know you are journalist. So if you have all the things displayed on you and they say hate on you, then we can be able to talk about it.
And Seattle, let me Julius, let me 4.1.4 is one issues that I have found that today's journalists, most of them are cut into the web. It says here, journalists should adhere to strict professional practices and safety principles, devoid of partisan interest in the coverage of the election.
Definitely. Maybe Julius can speak to that.
Yes, I mean,
because I noticed that we got problem on that side.
Yeah, I mean, this is in line with the core of ethics of journalism, especially wherein if you are called a journalist proper, right?
I like the word.
You need to practice professionally, and by that, you take into consideration all of ethical principles of journalism, right? You don't need to be a partisan-oriented journalist. And like you said, yes, there are some who can demonstrate partisanship. Some could be doing it without knowing. Some could be doing it deliberately. sometimes, yes, some will want to play this sort of a devil's advocate. You know, say, oh yes, I want to put myself in this particular shoe, and since another person is putting his or her, you know, self into another shoe, right? Yes, it's true that all of us as journalists, we need to professionally practice, adhere to professional practices. If not, security people might not respect you, and sometimes to people who are providing, you know, security on elections, right? They know some of us journalists. I mean, when you call me to remind me about coming to the studio, somebody enter, you know, the place I was eating, so to speak. And then one of our friends who is a journalist tried to introduce me, say, oh, this is a guy, you know. So it's like it happens too. Sometimes some of them could be security, you don't know.
Right.
And then on the elections day, they are deployed maybe to the same place you are going to cover, you know, a specific story. So if you are on ABC Radio or any other media institution, maybe taking on a partisan line, and then you go to cover elections at that particular, you know, voting center.
That's right.
And this security sees you, say, oh, but this guy, he's already a partisan journalist.
We know who he is.
So sometimes too, there where the fiction can come about. And I think there was somewhere in one of the objectives you are reading 3.2, where you say the objective is to facilitate communication between security agents, and journalists, as well as the understanding of conflict-sensitive reporting and rights and limits of access to information. This rights and limits, you know, of access to information is very critical, because sometimes people are voting. Like some of these hardcore, you know, political figures. Let's say President Weah as a candidate is going to vote, and then people want to see maybe whether he voted for himself or he voted for somebody, right? So they want to enter the whole electoral process, but the vote should be sacred, because it's not supposed to be seen by anybody. But sometimes too, because you are the me candidate, you want to make sure like your supporters. So in that sense, the security can limit access. So
not to be too hard in terms of providing security.
Yeah, they can limit access that yes, Mr. Candidate, in as much you have a right to vote, whosoever you want to vote for, but you can be carrying a group of journalists, right? Because I can remember in 2005, I think it was 2005, when George Weah was a candidate at that particular time, he had voted with his thumb.
The tongue, that's right.
And then because the ink was not dry, turn the paper or folded the paper like this, folded it another time. When he opened it to show the journalists, the ink has already spilled over. So and then I think one of our people, the invalid vote. So it became some level of noise, right? And then people say, but how did journalists got access to the men voting?
Definitely.
People.
But he displayed it.
So sometimes too, the issue of the right to information, I mean, who he voted for, he never voted for, the security can be able to limit it, because sometimes we can create tension at the voting in the center. So it will be very good that us as journalists, we always follow the ethical code. And it's very essential. You can be seen as a partisan and then you go to cover elections. So somebody may say this person is here as a spy. He's not a journalist. So let's devour ourselves on this sort of a partisanship, because as long as you have the identity or the sort of a tag on you as a journalist, I mean, you have to always exhibit impartiality. Yes, you have your perspective, but sometimes you have to keep you have to keep, because if I go to vote, obviously it's my right as a Liberian citizen to vote
who you want,
who I want to. But I can't come on air publicly and say I'm voting for this particular person. So the opponents of that particular person, I would take me to be like a partisan journalist. And this is where some of the security officers can look at journalists and know this guy, he should not be closer to the president, or he should not be closer to this other opposition leader or to this other opposition candidate. And sometimes too, if you go to the voting center, some of the citizens, they are always following the media. So sometimes too, they can be waiting. As soon as security and you get enforced, the citizens too can enforce one of the positions, either to support you or to support the security. I think there was one aspect in terms of the roles of journalists. They said 4.1.5. Journalists shall avoid steering controversy.
I was just about to go there.
Because
it's important.
Very important.
Go ahead.
The journalists shall avoid steering controversy and getting involved in debates among political actors, thereby drawing unnecessary attention to themselves.
I mean, let me hold you there quick before we elaborate on it. Is it not true?
Definitely.
Isn't that true?
It
Let me
is.
frame for ourselves here.
It is.
We're doing it
And
as
that's the
journalists
reason why we
here.
say we should avoid it.
Yeah, we're
because it's
doing it in
happening
this town
already.
it's happening as
Yeah.
we speak.
So like maybe you go on Carey Street and the guys they're having their Atai Center
Right.
conversation and you just jump there and you start to take start,
That's
know.
right.
I know Joanna, I'm
Mhm.
speaking as a journalist
That's
and
right.
I interviewed Joanna before.
Can you
And it
imagine?
happened like this, happened like this. Automatically all the attention be drawn
To you.
to you, it's
That's right.
unnecessary
Or I sit in
attention.
the studio here and try to insinuate on another party B candidate because he or she, to my understanding, is not the best, and I got my own hidden agenda.
Mhm.
Or perhaps I had taken something from somebody to destroy another party, a political leader. So I think it's good that these things are in black and white. That there should be no excuse now for any
Definitely.
journalist.
We just hope that we can, adhere to them.
Yeah.
Practice, it will be a little difficult because it's
know.
new,
Mhm.
kind of new, but we can guide ourselves to it. So that's the reason why I'm encouraging every media institution, especially here, to get the smaller blue books and give it to everybody. Let them be having it in their pockets, in their handbags. Let them be able to flip through it.
It's a working
from
tool.
time to time. Yeah.
It's a working tool.
Yeah,
for
and
every
what will
journalist.
also be important, like for example, ABC,
Mhm.
those of your reporters you'll be assigning to cover the elections. I know majority of them will
Majority
go
will
in the
go,
field.
yeah. Mhm.
So I know beginning now, you take them, you drill them through all of their
Yeah,
roles
to
and
your in-house,
responsibilities.
yes.
Right.
You do it by yourselves,
Mhm.
right? And then let them remember it. And when you go into the field, they are representing not only themselves,
Yes.
they are representing ABC. Because if you go in the streets, when I was working at Star Radio had one promo. I know it was hard to to follow. They said, "Don't give our journalists any money
Yeah.
or any stuff, what we call cattle, right?"
Yeah. Mhm.
And then if you go to a press conference and then somebody wants to give you cattle, you'll be reminded by what I say. So if ABC can adopt and tell your journalists, yeah, if you go into the field, don't stir anything that will bring negative aspects to the radio station. So that person will always have it in mind, because yes, I mean, those who put the document together, they've done well,
More than well.
yeah, they
actually.
put it together and then they say, okay, let's release it for everyone to see it. And it's good that you also having conversations on there. I hope other media institutions could take out of these standard operating procedures. Every day you read one and
Yes.
discuss it,
Right.
and have the public to call. For example, what do you make of this particular rule of a journalist in elections?
Mhm.
That journalists should not stir violence, and then let the public be able to speak about it. But also, what is the role of the public if you're seeing such a thing happening between the security and the journalists? Because the security officers, I mean, they are good security officers. I mean,
Yeah.
some they don't even have time for the journalists in terms of engaging in confrontation.
Mhm.
No, they don't. I mean, when you see them, I mean, when I was at the press union in Liberia, when Peter Kuwe was president, one of us, I mean, he's a renowned journalist. He had gone there. He said, Peter, but why? He said, every year you put award people from different categories. But I am the most beaten journalist. So why I
I'm
can't
the
get
most
this right?
whipped.
That's a good record for you.
And the most
Yeah,
whipped
so it was like,
journalist.
So you're the more controversial.
yeah, they was beating. So for him, he felt that he was doing his job, and then he was being beaten upon by security
Amen.
officers.
So did they worry about?
So the president needed to award him. Yeah, but on the other hand, if you have been beaten always, then it means
I mean,
no
you have problem.
there's a
You
problem.
just brought me to something that I heard yesterday. When you look into the press union, books, one particular generation this time is always in the controversy, either they're flogging with security people or person, So this handbook, he need particularly to hold it and read it every day, because being a journalist does not in no way say that you are superhuman.
Yeah.
No.
You can, okay, President, we are seated, and the protocol says when the president
Yeah,
sits,
nobody should enter.
nobody should enter.
They say,
I'm a
I'm a
journalist.
journalist. I need to enter.
I need to enter. No.
So let's come to some of the rules of the security
Yeah.
institutions. So 4.2.1 says national security institutions shall respect the rights of journalists, in particular, A, the right to freedom of expression and movement in line with Article 15 of the Constitution of Liberia. So that is already spelled out in the Constitution of Liberia. So it's already there. So as security personnel, you must be able to respect that right, even if the person does not say I'm a journalist.
Yes.
The fact that the person is a human being, is a Liberian,
Yeah.
Article
15
15
of our Constitution says that.
says
Mhm.
you must respect that person's right to freedom of expression and the right to freedom of movement. So you can't just start stopping people and say, in as much as we will understand the limits have been talked about, but you also need to respect that person's rights.
What would be?
B says the right of journalists not to be deprived of their liberty in an illegal manner in relation to the performance of their professional duty.
Wow.
So if you deny a journalist, it must be for a genuine and a legal reason. You can say, oh, you're not, journalist ask why I'm not entering. You're not entering because you're not entering.
Yeah, that's
because I the security man, I say you will not enter.
Yeah.
I swear you will not enter unless you know you enter here, unless I'm not security. There's no reason for stopping the person.
That's right.
Say, okay, you're not entering because XYZ reasons, because this is a crime scene. We are trying to preserve the crime scene, or give some genuine and legal reasons
to convince the journalist. You can't go beyond
definitely, you can't go beyond this line, this yellow tape or this blue line, whatever line. You can't go beyond the line. But don't do it because you say, because I am the security person here.
Yes.
As long as I'm security here, you will not enter.
No general will enter here.
Yeah.
No
So that
general will enter here.
yes, that you doing that with prejudice. And 4.2.2 says the police or the national security institution shall make available to the media at national, regional, divisional, and district levels contact numbers for emergency situation. So if the journalists come to you and say, oh, I'm XYZ person, I'm assigned to cover the whole entire Buchanan Street, please make available the contact of emergency contacts of your security personnel. So say to the person, because we don't know who in charge. So say to the person, oh, this precinct, I'm the commander here. Next to me is Julius Canaba. Julius' number is XYZ. If you can't get Julius, you can call Joe Wanda. Joe Wanda is the assistant to Julius. His number is XYZ. Give that person the entire, the number, let the person have it. Because in case of emergency, anything can break out and that person wants police protection. You should be handy. So it says, for timely and appropriate responses to questions and requests for clarification on emerging issues by the media. So I am there. I want clarification. I shouldn't come to it and start sending me to Moses Carter way in Monrovia. Because I need way in Butu. Yeah, I can't even get access to my phone. I don't have network. I'm right before you. Then you're telling me, oh, I can't speak to you now. You have to talk to Moses Carter. No, I need that, that handy answer. And 4.2.3 says the police or the national security institution shall assist. So we are not your enemies. It says you shall assist us, assist journalists in requiring support in the event of emergency or during events that expose the journalists to safety risk. So journalists are not your enemies. So don't say, and she call herself journalist or he call himself journalist. You see how you carry the horse. And I see man where we put out the story.
The story
no.
Our boss.
We'll
deal with him.
Yeah, let's see how you carry. They play. He know a way already. Journalist he can't. No, he say he shall assist. So show them all the way out. The secret corners where to how to. You should even help them, guide them out of that situation if they are in a situation.
Wow.
Yeah, so those are some of the things required of the police or the national security institution.
In fact,
it shall provide regular press briefing to the public.
That's right.
Regular.
That 4.2.4.
Yeah, 4.2.5.
Okay, no, 0.4. Come back to 0.4.
0.4 says the police or the national security shall update media on the new security arrangements. So if you have your new, because we'll not be in the security meetings.
No.
If you have your new security, you have your meeting, have new arrangement. Let's say the stories have changed. So you changing Julius and bringing Joe Wanda in, or you moving the security detachment to another place. Update the media. Call press conference or even call the head of the institution and say, oh, the protocol for the activity changed. They will not be on Buchanan Street, be on Center Street, and this is the new commander for that. Update the media from time to time because we are human beings. We can't just be guessing. So you have to be able to update the media. 4.25, the police or national security institution shall provide regular press briefing to the public. So you have to brief the press, let the press know, let the public know what's going on. You can't keep the public in the dark, especially when something happens at a particular police station or precinct, and then the public looking for information, then you say, oh, I can speak to you right now, and go talk to Moses Carter. Moses Carter will call you near because you are our friend.
You know, that reminds me of a story that I heard from some colleagues. They said they went to Bummy Hills when they heard about the trucking business. I think it was the election that brought Eddie Snow and the rest of the guys to power. So they alleged a trucking business. So the journalist went on with these guys, got there and they sat down like I was sitting down there discussing. But what they did was they carefully planted their camera to the direction of where they were doing the discussion, where the trucking was going, out of those things. They were offloading the truck now. As you get on, you get your something, and so they act like they were drinking, and but the camera was faced there. So later on, somebody noticed that. They say, "Oh, you're sitting down here. The guy from Monrovia, they recording your the ex-wife. All the thing you do, man. It took one fuller guy, come to the story, to put a guy in his shop, lock it up, and it took the intervention of official from Monrovia. They call the commander on our side, say you got to provide security for the general to get out." So there's the same thing we're talking about here.
Yeah.
Because the journalist's job is to expose ills in society. So things are not right. I'm reporting it not because that your party person, but you as a security person, you need to give me that maximum security.
That protection. It requires under the SOP.
Yeah.
And then 4.2.6 say police or national security institution shall commit to inform all ranks to respect journalists. So you as the head or the tabra, you will commit yourself that you inform your lower persons to respect all journalists.
There's some journalists.
There's some all journalists
and
protect them in the exercise of their duty. We're still talking about the issue of protection. You need to protect them in the exercise of their duty. And then 4.27 police or national security institution shall identify themselves. We talk about it by showing official ID cards or badges at the request of a journalist.
Fair enough.
So I can't ask me who are you to ask me?
Ask me.
Who are you to ask me to show you my ID card? You see me in my police uniform or in my AFL uniform. No, the AFL uniform, the police uniform, not enough. You need to identify yourself properly.
Anybody could wear that uniform.
Definitely. Anybody could show their own police uniform. Yeah. So the last for this end is the 4.28. 4.2.8, it says the police or national security institution shall take all measures to establish the facts and circumstances of violence, threats, intimidation, or harassment of journalists and the media in relation to the performance of their professional task. So this one came about where when maybe Julius complain, then you say, we investigating. And you be done with it. No, when you to investigate, spill it. Let Julius know that you're doing something. Not just say, our case that we're looking into that case, and then you just throw it out. So you have to make some efforts. You have to establish the facts that you investigate. Let me know that you're investigating. Ask some questions, talk to people. Let me see some signs of investigation going on. Don't just tell me in your mouth, oh, I think we're looking into that case, or we investigating that case. So, some of the roles of the security and the media. National.
Yes, and on that particular last point is very important because since 2005, there have been a lot of different incidents involving journalists and the police. Sometimes there are no reports. The president will come out to condemn, and then the police will say we are investigating. And it has also happened with different politicians. The police will always say they are investigating, or they've concluded their report, they submitted to the next hierarchy, or maybe to the Ministry of Justice or to the presidency, and no action. And that is very unfortunate. So this is how violence can grow and grow and grow and become like entrenched. Because this particular document, the standard operating procedure, it has come about again because the political parties, for instance, they were affirmative, and they signed another agreement for non-violence elections. That all disputes should be resolved through the necessary channels, or the appropriate channels. So the Farmington Agreement on non-violence is similar to this particular SOP. While that is focusing on the political parties, in the national politics, this is focusing on people who are also working in relation to the electoral process. Because while the politicians are debating about different issues about the electoral process, or about winning votes, not winning votes, about the conduct of the elections. So us who are covering and providing security for the elections, we also have to have an agreement that this is how we should perform. So we hope that before we go to elections that you are counting, I think it's 6 months from now.
Yeah.
We should set up different sort of mechanisms that will be able now to handle the relationship between the media and the police, so that if anything happens, right, speedily investigate jointly, and then you issue a report. If there's a need to take punitive actions or some level of actions against the journalists or the police, it can be done speedily by both parties. So instead of waiting maybe after 6 months, and then the 6 months everything dies down. And so it will be very important.
And one other thing, and I thought that we can add it up, on this our discussion, is that journalists themselves or police post shouldn't say, oh, that SOP or only for the election down. So it ain't go to any other specific, because and in one of the clauses it says at national events.
Yeah.
It says beyond.
And beyond.
Elections and beyond.
Election and beyond. So this tells you that inauguration is included.
Mm-hmm.
What they
State
call
of
it?
the nation,
State of the nation included. Every other thing included. You see, here they now saying that if Joanna don't have accreditation from NEC, that means he does not, have the right to come to where the prison.
That we say all. They did not say in.
Yeah, they say
say all. So
one Joanna can identify himself from an institution, rather from ABC or from PUL.
Yeah.
More recent identification card allow him or her to enter there and perform their duties as journalists.
Definitely. So the issue of we agreed. So the part of the strengthening women's role in electoral violence prevention and peace building, it says the parties that the police shall enforce this.
That's on what dispute resolution or
no, strengthening women's role.
Okay, right, okay.
So the parties agree that the police shall enforce this SOP by ensuring that priority is given to female electorate, pregnant women and lactating mother, breastfeeding mother, those are breastfeeding, pregnant women and lactating mothers, elderly, and people with disabilities during electioneering periods. So,
man, let me hold you right there. I saw this thing when I went to vote in recent days.
So when you want to register to vote?
Yeah, I want to register to vote in recent days. In the Painesville Bell, precisely to this Maggie Junction, this school, I just forgot it, Bowway School.
Oh, the famous Maggie?
Yeah. Bowway School.
Okay.
Lactating mothers and mothers that are backing their babies, I saw them in line. I got concerned. I didn't raise the issue. I saw older people standing in line. And whereas the SOP, this says, and I quote, these people should be given special preferences.
So just by adding on what you said, I think I posted something on Facebook that I went to register to vote and I saw something like that. And they I don't know what a NEC really thought that people about this SOP, because NEC is a party to this SOP.
Yeah.
And the PO there said that everybody
must stay in line.
Must stay in the same line. Whether you're pregnant, you old, you got baby and everything. And I brought it up to him, and he probably said, yeah, I told them to stay in one line. I didn't raise the issue. I didn't say anything. I just tried to help them out in a way, and then we went through the process there. But then this SOP came to mind.
Right.
And I think I went into Henry's inbox and told him that I think NEC need to do more with the people that's standing in a few. Right. But you can't have the elderly husband that breastfeeding or pregnant woman standing in one line, with everybody else.
That's right.
You need to give them priority. It says that you need to give them priority. Further, in relation to specific categories of participants in the electoral process, the parties agree. We agree. So NEC is a party, the media,
right,
the security sector, NEC, and all the others that were on this SOP, we agree. One, photos, the media shall promote, which means raise awareness on the privileged access of special groups such as pregnant women, lactating mother, and elderly. That's what we're doing now. We're raising that awareness.
Right.
Those people need to be given special attention.
No matter the time they get there.
Special attention. They don't need to stay in the line with everybody else.
None at all.
They need, when they come, you take them and go and serve them and come. And you need to explain to the people, because that's one of the reasons. They didn't explain to the people, oh, the woman are pregnant, or that old lady, or that baby man. So you need to explain to the people in the line. let them know that these people have special preferences. And then to say aspiring female candidates or nominated and adopted, media shall avoid stereotyping and will ensure fair portrayal and representation.
Yeah.
So I'm already an aspiring. I come in on the radio, and then you asking me how will I manage with my family and the political and my position or the position I running for. Yeah, it's none of your business.
Right.
It's my husband's business or my family and the media. That is stereotype. We need to avoid that. Ask the person the questions on the book. How will you handle District 7? Now, how will you handle your family and handle the District 7? You got nothing to do with my family. It's a political party pulling agents. The police shall provide full security protection before, during, and after the election. That is for political party pulling agents. So not because that person not in your party or in your mind, you say you say security, but deep down you are partisans security. Then you say, the other person X or C party, so they will handle themselves. I only have to protect Joanna from my party. No, it says you shall provide protection for all political party pulling agents.
But it's a voluminous, kind of
document. So we need to talk about it one at a time.
What I would do, maybe next week again we can find time because this is the period and we need to educate ourselves.
We need to talk more about it. Yeah, maybe we're gonna do it segment by segment.
Yeah, please.
Or as Julia said, we'll do it. Maybe you take one, maybe this time when you talk about the objective.
That's right.
Elaborate next time you talk about the role of the media.
Right.
And you talk about the role of the security sector.
Yeah,
you got the role of the people with disability, the role of female officers, female journalists. It's a whole big document.
Imagine, because you go marshal, you got your husband is waiting you to go as fast as
and see come the stereotype. And see like just like you're fine. That's stereotype. So Julia girlfriend or your wife not waiting for you. My husband waiting for you. Even you, your wife waiting for you.
You got distance to cover. So I can't keep you sitting here because I'm enjoying the discussion. Actually, I'm very enjoying the discussion.
Yeah, own security.
Yeah, own security.
No. I ask you. I'm scared for me.
If you just joined the program, is ABC Hard Talk, and we talk to re-examine the roles supposed to be played by both the media and that of the state security. So I hope the police are following, the immigration are following, the EPS are following, and journalists are well. Journalists, you don't have that exclusivity that you can be thinking about. I have it to enter the president's bedroom. No, you don't have it. They got rules everywhere you go. And you got the right as a journalist to always ask for identity from anybody that present themselves to you as a security officer.
Even immigration, whatever.
Ask them for their identity and look at it and be satisfied before you can go into any discussion for that matter or to perform your duty. And you too, journalists, please hang your rope on your neck. Not say a journalist.
Identify yourself.
So you want to tell me you know Joanna? You know No, the police want to know who you call Joanna. What is the identity of Joanna? Anybody could be Joanna. So this is the pros and cons of what we're talking about. That we as journalists.
And Joe, there was one thing that the National Elections Commission did, I think 3 weeks ago, when the BVR started, the biometric in the voter registration started. There was one of its what it calls it ad hoc staff,
right,
who
misbehave on
a journalist, and immediately NEC investigated, dismissed the person immediately.
Beautiful.
So this is how to ensure that people follow the rules.
Right.
So if the journalist is right, obviously the staff is wrong. Take actions. Let's be able to have trust in the system. But where you want to defend the journalist or you want to defend your staff, there was the problem.
And the other way around, if the journalist was wrong, you as the head, you need to do something like know that you took some action. Let's say all my journalists there, I will handle that. We took that into the station.
We'll deal with the station.
Yeah.
Well, so I know the listener have been following. So because of that, I didn't even take break. This discussion is very important, actually. So we will do it segmentably. Every time the people made us available, we will bring other colleagues on board to actually make the discussion more weighty, because what I'm talking about now is the time for us as journalists to really exhibit that which were crafted on this on these documents, and we need to adhere to them, because you see, we can't be journalists and misbehaving, then we expect the public to behave. We can't come and sit in studio, bar muff, as we were saying in Liberia, bar muff somebody, then you got a man to go to the party headquarters with your ID card hanging on you. You think they will look at you with good eyes? They will flog the devil out of you before you can get to realize it. Even though it may be against it, but Man, no man, no one is no story worth dying for, and no story worth.
And the damage is already done.
Already done.
We just condemn it.
Yeah, so we'll just condemn it as media people. So let's just get a few calls from you because my guests have to go. Let's get a few calls from you. Those have been following, be it journalists or be it from the police or from the immigration or from the EPS. Just call now 077-105-100 and 055-105-100. Call okay. Let's go to the phone. I got the first caller there. The first caller here want to talk to us. Hello. Good afternoon, sir. Okay, Mr. Ambassador, let's hear you, sir.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
And I'm trying to help them with information. So how we have to get all my information because when I'm going to register now in Nima, I'll be excited, Gambia, Kikamo, Minamo, Sultan, all the way to Senegal. And I'm going to get my mobile and get information from them. We have to be responsible to send the information of Joe Wanda always. What's going on? Senegal, there's no way to pass our time. And I'm with this way election. So what would be my role to save this? Thank you.
Well, okay, what would be his role to safety reporting for one of those centers? Now we got, this citizen journalism, Yeah. So because he don't have our formal training, but yet he going to the area that news can be generated from. So he said, what would be his role? Whether he close with it, something like whether he close with authority to be able to disseminate to give back information from those.
Will you be giving information as a journalist?
That what he asking, what would be his role?
Is he a journalist?
No, he's not a journalist. He's a friend of the journalist. But citizen journalism.
So who you'll be giving the information to?
To institution. Yeah, media institution. For example, it's ABC.
If he's
let Julius help me.
Correspondent work for ABC and he's recognized,
he needs an identity
as somebody who is contributing, then ABC can be able to give him an RD, because you don't want to have a situation where
everybody say the citizen journalist
or camera and say I am a citizen journalist. Yeah, I mean, it's good that citizens are involved in giving day-to-day information, in as much some can be misleading or some might not necessarily be good to publish at that particular time. Look at this particular instance when the representative at Kairos Gray said he was going for lunch on the campus of the university, right? People carry different cameras. So you go on Facebook, some were journalists, some were not journalists. So sometimes it can help to inflame the situation, right? So if you're a journalist, you want to provide, if you're not a journalist and you want to provide coverage, maybe since elections are very important, it helps to build society peacefully. What you can do, you can associate yourself with a specific media now, right? So that you can be able to provide the information, because every media institution in the country does not have journalists everywhere at all times. So sometimes too, some of the citizens, the ordinary people,
can help out.
Yeah, they can help to provide the information. So yes, what you could also do, you could build relationship with the security people and say, yes, I'm not a journalist, but I really want to report on what is happening at this particular area. Maybe talk to a few citizens and then to send it to a media entity. Yeah, because like the BBC, for example, sometimes, and we also do it in Liberia, they can ask people to provide audios, to provide videos of what is happening, and then you provide it. They call your name so that they can be able to attribute this particular source material, to you directly. So yes, since you are not a journalist officially or recognized by the PUL or by a specific media entity, you will have to work cautiously, very carefully. Don't take risk to impersonate as a journalist. It's good that he's asking the question, because sometimes too people can impersonate. And that was why we've been pushing for transparency and accountability in who is eligible to get membership
accreditation
of the PUL.
Right.
Because of elections, you just take cards and give it to people who are not associated with journalism. Yeah, because
they got no training at all, no basic training.
Because the PUL identity is also reflected on the institution.
Definitely, it's very strong. It's very powerful.
The dialogue, they talk about it. The PUL ID card, institution or accreditation from NEC.
So it's good that you say you are now a journalist. As Julia said, be very careful how you go about it.
Yeah.
But then the issue of freelancing also comes into play.
Yeah.
So we know there are some journalists out there, and you know, they are not attached to any institution right now.
Mhm.
They are freelancers,
Right.
but they also have the PUA ID card. So if you are a freelancer and you don't have any institution ID card, make sure your PUA ID card is valid, and make sure, because I don't know if NEC have a space for freelancers. No, I think because
Flomo can address that issue.
yeah, because next year they will be taking the listing for institutions. So you're not going to work in as an individual journalist and so I'm a freelancer. I want NEC
But then again,
accreditation.
theater,
So
I think it's conflicting because
so-
if we send, for example, we send 2 person names from here,
yeah,
okay, but then the SOP says that as long as I'm from an institution that got my PUA ID card or the institutional ID card, I can be able to exhibit my activities at any center.
And that came about because we know in most cases NEC can delay. The accreditation can delay. So now the accreditation process will be on until elections day. So if
I
you
hope
don't,
NEC were here to their own.
yeah. So
you know,
if you
thing.
so if you don't have that accreditation,
yeah,
you can use
yeah,
the
PUA
PUA
ID
ID
card.
card. Yeah, that's when all your
Oh, the
institution
student tell me
ID
say,
card.
oh no, but Joe, you are not accredited, but also you're not entitled to come in over here.
So NEC, but NEC has no power to say who covers where. I'm a journalist. I'm an institution. Send me where to cover. You just be identified.
Right.
So NEC will also have the accreditation that we look forward to coming out early.
Right.
But as we can see, even for the voter registration, the accreditation is delayed. So we know definitely for the election proper, it might just delay. And if it delays, then you can use your institution ID card or your PUL. So if you're a freelancer, and I know before you become a freelancer, you might have been a journalist,
Right.
practice, so you can go to the PUL, play your rapport with the PUL, and have your PUL ID card.
Right.
If you don't have any institution to show.
Okay, guys, man, time is fast spent. I don't want to, like I said, keep you guys too long because I thought to really give you 1 hour, but the enjoyment of the discussion took me off balance, and I thought to just enjoy it and get educated more with what is enshrined into these documents. So let me go again around the table to get your parting comment. Because it's a continuing process. Like I promise you guys, we'll use this platform to really educate us ourselves, journalists, and the do's and don'ts about what we need to do in this electoral period and beyond. So, Siada, let's start with you, madam.
So, as I close, I want to say to security officers that they shall treat female journalists with equal respect as they will treat male journalists. Don't treat women journalists with disrespect, and treat male journalists with respect. Treat them with the same respect, because a journalist is a journalist, a reporter is a reporter. So treat them with equal respect. And say the media shall also increase in the deployment. So I'm saying to media managers, if you're deploying your people in the field, don't deploy only male journalists. Send female journalists there. Again, you are saying to treat them with respect. So don't say, oh, you're doing elections. So only the male reporters will go cover the election. The women will be in the studio when they bring the result, then they read the result. No, send them in the field to treat them with respect. Send them to places to cover the stories, because they are reporters equally as their male counterparts. Right. So treat them with the same respect. And again, we look forward to the opportunity of discussing this over and over again within the 6 months terms. Let our media colleagues and other people understand what the SOP is. It's a very good document. So we need to keep talking about it. Thank you.
Julius?
Well, security is critical to elections and democratization processes. Journalism is also critical to elections and democratization processes. So we hope those in the security sector and those in the journalism sector can be able to forge this sort of a continuing partnership to work for the betterment of the electoral environment. I like the fact that the document emphasizes, I think, 3 different C's. Cooperation, collaboration, and coordination. What it leads to professional relationship. So we hope that everyone can be able to help Liberia to be peaceful, because elections are a good mechanism for the stability of a country. But elections are also related to violence. We have something they call vote and violence. Sometimes when you vote,
oh, we got this overseas call. I beg you. I don't want to leave the call. Let me take this call. Hello. Hello. Hello, yes, sir. Your name and where you calling from, sir? Hello, hello. I'm hearing you. Hello. I said I'm hearing you. Go ahead. Yeah. Okay, so it's my pleasure having you on our platform. Yeah. So yeah, you've been following our discussion. What's your input so far, sir?
Well, my input today, about me being a media practitioner, I'm drawn to the fact that, I see a lot of us, trying to have a kind of camera. Sometimes this is a very professional field
Mm.
for us to really don't be out here, focusing on what people should do. The way we present ourselves, will also demand our respect. I tell people always, respect is something that is earned.
Mm.
But a lot of us, it's almost like this female thing. When they do wrong, they want to have us under umbrella. Oh, I'm a female, this and that. Yes, we are media practitioners. There are a lot of things that we put out there that are not supposed to be out there because one, we are just the mouthpiece of the country.
Mm.
But every community, you as a media practitioner or individual that is into mediocrity or creativity art, whenever you find yourself within that area, you are the mouthpiece of that particular area.
Mm.
What you put out there is exactly what you are going to see that community or that country for. We put a lot of things that are not supposed to be out there, but for the guys on the field, I don't blame them, but you guys are the one that we are able to keep actually, directly face to face.
Okay.
So at the end of the day, we are that need to go to the media. So there are some images, there are some stories that are not supposed to be put out there. Because one thing we're supposed to know is that we can record the things and edit it and put it out there.
Yeah.
Things happen here in Georgia on a daily basis.
Mhm.
There are things happening in other states that you don't even get to see in other states. So all these things you need to bring it to the table. When you start, look, now right as a media practitioner, you go in, people are supposed to be the one opening corridor for you to go because they want other people to see you.
Mm.
But see, most of the time I see things are being recorded and posted on Facebook or maybe on websites and things. I see media practitioners are expecting to get their way through. Because one, these are things that we're supposed to have like show for like 2-3 hours,
Mm.
educating the people the essence of the presence of the media, at a crime scene or maybe at an event. When the media is present at an event, that respect should be there. The respect between the security and the media is supposed to be up to the top. But I feel like there is miscommunication between the
Mhm.
media and the security institutions. So that's why we are having problems. You see, security personnel working or media personnel is not supposed to be so because the education is not, aligning. So we
Oh, sorry. I mean, thank God that at least a colleague of ours is on the other side and they're following the discussion now. I just about to tell you, that's the reason why the SOP is here now.
Yes.
Because the SOP will guard the process no matter what. We will all adhere to it. The police will know their role. And in our next discussion here, as you conclude, Julia, I will make sure that we'll get somebody from the police to the security sector, whether the immigration, the police, let it come through, then we always throw light to this thing because when their presence fell here and they've been heard by their colleagues,
Yeah.
I think there will
Definitely.
be some
So you can just look like only the journalist talking.
That's right. So Julius, you can conclude as you are going. I just thought that we could take the guys from the diaspora.
Yeah, like I was saying, security is very critical to the elections, and journalism is also critical to the elections. So we hope the both sides and all different actors can work together and collaboratively to ensure that we have a very peaceful election and not to resort to vote in violence. Because during elections in a number of countries on the continent of Africa, sometimes it leads to violence. I mean, it leads to violence. I mean, like the caller said, I mean, respect is earned, but we live in the post-conflict environment. But we can blame the war post-conflict for our conduct. But yes, Liberia is in the chin-chin, and we should also speak positively of the fact that the fiction or the division or conflict between the media or some media and security is not too widespread,
Right.
right? I mean, there are more than 1,000 of persons who are practicing journalism,
Yeah.
and if you look at the number, I'm not too sure we reach 50% that is involved with the security sector.
Yeah.
So we should be able to recognize the fact that yes, journalism is being practiced professionally to some extent or to varying extents, and the security people are also performing their job. But one incident can lead to wider coverage,
Right.
or 2-3 incidents can also lead to wider coverage. I like the fights when I read the 2017 elections observation report from the EU. They did strike the fact that we have a media that is very vibrant, and that the relationship between the media and the security has improved. In as much there were cases, for instance, in 2017 where there were fictions between the security. I think 10 different cases, and the National Media Council from the Press Union Liberia investigated. Some of the cases were dropped because both parties just left it.
Right.
So we hope will be very fast, the Seattle stroke, speeded investigation to ensure
Right.
that anything that happens, take actions like NEC, did. Yeah, so it will be good that we should not have honor journalism to commit any reckless
Right.
attitude, as the document said, but also we should not have honor the security to abuse power.
Right.
Because sometimes too, some of the security officers feel that because they are security, they have to exercise a sort of a heavy-handed power,
Yeah.
which is not good for our society. Yes, I agree with the caller from the States that yes, the media is a watchdog or mouthpiece of society. So let's earn that particular respect from members of the society. It's always good, for the media and the security to respect each other, because I mean, I'm sorry to say it, but those are the least paid people in the country,
Oh, sure.
and then those are the same people fighting.
I cannot compromise that.
Yeah,
It's-
so sometimes when you look at the situation, you say yes, the journalists are very passionate, some to do their job, the security officers, but they are low-they paid,
Low
and
they
then
paid,
you
that's
see
right.
them, fighting each other,
Maybe that why they
beating
fight
each
each other.
other. So it's
Okay.
interesting.
Colleagues, I want to say thanks very much for taking the time off your schedule to really come here and for the educate ourselves. Precisely, those of our brothers and sisters who this electoral period will be assigned to various places. So again, like I said, next week I will always be knocking your doors to make sure you will come and provide the expertise for our young brothers and sisters, because they got it exuberant. They want to do the job, but to read these things, it look too voluminous. And I will try to
Just 22 pages,
Yeah.
not big.
I will try to see what I can get to Flomo. Let he provide at least 30 copies for my
copies.
institution, and we'll spread them on ourselves, because these things it help to even help you for safety. Because policemen try to make me say, my man, look in my hand here.
SOP right in my
SOP right in
hand.
my hand. It says, yeah, what you're doing is against what we all affix our signature to. Policemen
Definitely.
will come to his senses straight. You see? Or you generally you go contrary, then it will show you. You see the blue boat. They say you shouldn't go this direction. So I think we need to do it now, as a service back to the media community, as professional people, as older people, something we can't sit back and see our younger people, going astray. And because at the end of the day, you say, see that you all sat there, amen.
It goes across to everybody.
Yeah, you all sat there, and
They wouldn't even be calling say Liberian journalists then.
That's right. You
The
see?
Liberian media.
The Liberian media. So that's what I thought, that we can lay more emphasis on this entire thing and see how best we can, at the end of the day, to achieve something. Because my concern is we should have a violent-free election, that journalists will not be slapped. Journalists will not say, "Oh,
I'm
this
the
and
most
that.
beating
I'm
journalist.
the most beating journalist," and what have you.
They will not be awarded.
Oh God, he's calling back. Anyway, before you go, let's listen to him. He's calling back. Yeah, let's listen to him. Hello. 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 Yeah. Yeah. Okay. My colleagues are here. Let's listen to it before we take leave of the discussion.
Over there, you struck a very important point. The job that you guys are doing is a great job, and the fact that the pay is not even look, I'll just send it away. And I didn't say you're a good thing and nothing. So it's that, but the passion is there. And no one knows, exactly how, everybody's career is going to turn out to be. And at the end of the day, all that I can say, Yes, we appreciate everything that you guys are doing, and I feel like the union, the first union needs to work on a lot of improving educational materials and working on getting equipment and stuff. And it also helps to build up the industry in a way that when a professional man is out there, he gets the professional, he needs. And it protects him from not only him, but it also protects the industry. If somebody see you out there, with your equipment like nowadays, that's about most people are kind of use the smartphone. It's not bad. But by the end of the day, now you got me out there, I've got to use my own phone and stuff. This makes why I have to protect myself because if my phone gets damaged, that means if we come to on the next and I have that phone available, I have to do my own responsibility for going to repair my phone and all of that. So it brings you to a point that you're fighting for your sister, and at the same time fighting for your sister for your device. It's like a double race. So for you, you trying to still die yourself and also trying to still die your mom, trying to at the same time. So it makes you so stressed to the point that when you get to the individual for whom you want to interview, you can't really ask the questions that you're supposed to be asking if you're very relaxed and you are safe, you know that you don't have to worry about the safety or worry about the device and things. The security is everybody understand their role. And these are things that need to be placed into police. When you get to understand, okay, now this is the police training, we are the sediment. This is a crime thing. So if the media is here and this is where the incident is placed. So the media is on this side and the police are on this side. All these things, these are things that need to be dramatized, that need to be shown to them. But because everybody do not know where they're supposed to be, so we get to interfere with each other work. So at the end of the day, it's bring our conflict of interest. Now the policemen want to show that yes, I'm supposed to be here protecting these people. And the media man also wants to be the way he's supposed to be to interview or to make sure that he's giving his viewers a direct contact, like a live thing of what is happening. And now the policeman see that okay, the media man is trying to override the fight. And then when the policeman tries to push the media man away too. Oh, I'm a media man, yes. But we both don't even know where we're supposed to be.
Okay, so I want to say thank you. Yeah, thank you very much again for being part of it because my guests have to go actually, and so we just hope that you can always keep online to follow our discussion like back here. What we need some other thing that you can also chip into it, but we appreciate the fact that you took a ton of your schedule on our end, and to call on our show. Okay. Thank you very much. So guys, yeah, that's another
that's another discussion. You talk about the issue of gadgets and things, and I think that's another discussion we need to have because using, again, we're not saying smartphone is wrong, but using your smartphone does not earn you that respect that people think that definitely you just playing phone, you're now a real journalist. They call it cell phone journalist, just a cell phone journalist. So if you come with your recorder or your camera, your real gadget that people will see
when
and
they
say,
see you,
then they know,
the security man said,
you know that you are a journalist.
You not even introduce yourself. You say,
Definitely,
just pass.
Just pass. But you just come with your cell phone. You say, "Oh, I'm a journalist." You just having the smartphone in here or the small trapper. You put on the phone. Anyway, we'll have the other discussion another time.
Okay, man. So thanks very much for coming, and I hope next week, by God's grace, we will be here same time to be discussing alongside the police this time around, or the security for that matter, or this time around, to be able to make the discussion more weighted, because we need to be seeing these things to one another until the day reaches. So again, I want to say thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you, Joe.
we're taking this break. When we come back, we will be doing something again. Though my guests are here, they were almost, go on me, but I take this break.
I look into your eyes and I see say the love you they give me not for pay. I know be understand say na your way. I be your mumu because you too fine. Everything say I be sharp guy. Everything you do was a very big lie. You thought to read my life they go. They make me feel say now me be your number one. I'm telling for your phone. What you gonna show for your phone? My big boo one call. Which can you want be this? Carol follow Carol. Yellow CC, yellow CC. Carol, hey, yellow tomato. Carol chop my money, follow. She follow the ball. Carol, the one he follow the ball. If you see any chica with Vicaro, open your eyes and give them a color. If you see any chica with Vicaro, open your pockets, give them a deshi. Vicaro never play the shape and size and make you take your time, make you wise. Vicaro never play the shape and size and make you